All right, let's go. Let's get right into it. We are in the midst of it, guys. We are stuck in the house. Some of us still have to work, but I thought it was important for us to continue with our journey of uncuffing. Bree Smith, I'm the uncuffed living expert. And basically, what I do is I teach women how not to just rock out their uniqueness, but to truly honor it. Be sure to watch day two's segment of this challenge. It really dug into what it takes to honor who you are and why that's so important step. And then we're going to take a journey where we are spending a lot more time just uncuffing in our lives, in our businesses, to build our legacies. That is so important because ultimately, this journey called life was never meant just for us. We're supposed to learn something new, change the world, and then get forward. So if you've not begun that journey, or if you're just like stuck in the routine, you're going to work every day and you're running home and that's the end of it, I'm encouraging you to take a moment to build something bigger, to make something brighter, stronger, something that will actually change the world. It's times like this when we need the game changers. It's times like this when you realize that your voice not only mattered, but was meant to change the world. What us to do right now is to see. I had to delete something later when I get a chance, but I want us to understand the importance of honoring who we are. All right. And today we're going to talk about mind dumping. We're stuck in our life piece. We're going to move to business and legacy later. We have 24 segments. This is day three. The segments aren't timed where you have to sit down at a certain time. That's not how I roll, especially not in this pandemic when we really have a lot of free time. So I'm going to read from a few excerpts. I'll tell you the sources, and then I will explain to them how they help me in my mind dumping. And of course, after the end or near the end of every segment, I'm going to introduce you to one of my wonderful Mary Kay products because I am also a senior director in Mary Kay. I happen to have the best unit in all of Mary Kay. I totally love them. They are rocking it out within their real estate worlds, their administrative worlds, professional corporate worlds, and they come right to Mary Kay and they rock it out the same way. So how lucky am I? Yeah, right? So please give me a thumbs up. Please give me a share. My goal throughout this presentation, the 24-day to Uncuff challenge, is to really raise the bar and train us ladies how, because the like tell us how, because the world shut down doesn't mean that we have to shut down. So I definitely need you guys to go ahead, like, share, love, comment, because let's get this thing going. So today we're moving right into mind dumping. Let's think about mind dumping. What does that mean to you? What does it mean to mind dump? What does it really mean? Does it mean that you've mastered yoga? Does it mean that you've mastered the art of saying no and you have all of these strong boundaries? What does it mean to you? It means a number of things to a lot of people. For some, it just means they are constantly stretching their brain. They are eliminating clutter, like decluttering the mind. It means that they have stepped into a space where they recognize it's important for them to be not just mentally sane, but undrained, right? Undrained, because that's when you begin to create what you were supposed to create, and you don't have to mimic and look like everyone else, and your brand is unique and your life is pleasurable and meaningful, and you love the people you're supposed to love. You love the people that you encounter, and you give them an opportunity to see what it looks like. So to me, mind dumping is essentially a way for me to get everything that's floating around in my mind, to get it out. To get it out, like to dump it onto paper, through dictation, any type of recording, to just get the pieces out. To put that in perspective, I am a senior director in Mary Kay. That requires a lot of management. It also requires a lot of sales, organization, calendar building, customer brand building, customer building, product knowledge. It requires at least 15 very important coexisting components. So that in itself would be a huge task, right? But then you couple that with being a retired police detective and still a criminologist slash professor. Basically, I still have to maintain my expertise in the criminology world and understanding of investigations and people in general, people in crime in general, because I'm teaching a whole workforce of new criminologists, new police officers, new state's attorneys, new people that are going to go out and change their world in their own way. In addition, I, through all of those things, have a women's coaching business. On my women's coaching business, that's called Women Uncuffed. I teach women how to find and develop their own brand and niche. Everyone has a voice, but what good is it if you are like speaking to everyone? Because not everyone's going to hear what you're trying to say. And that's the first thing that I explain to my customers, that it's so important for you to really hone in on your message and be clear about what you are going to remain faithful to. It doesn't matter if you have 15 things happening, that could be one collective brand, one overarching comprehensive brand. And you don't have to always compartmentalize to the point where you look nothing like in this setting when you go to a different setting. You are consistent everywhere you show up. So for me, mind dumping is a huge way to trick your brain into saying you're supposed to be doing all the things you're supposed to be doing, because if you're working with me, if you're not supposed to be doing them, they go. I don't care who gets upset about it. But if it doesn't fit your larger scheme and what God has ordained for your larger life's purpose, then we work together to get rid of it, and not get rid of it to replace it, but get rid of it for the good. We don't go back to things that cause us hurt and pain. Now, if there's some unresolved issues, we'll deal with those. However, we are very clear about what it is we're doing. Now, some people use the word brain dump and mind dump interchangeably, those words, but for me, they're a little different. When you're looking at a mind dumping, you're really saying, what is on my mind? So, outside of being in our professional statuses, we also parents and wives and friends and daughters. We also go to the grocery store and shop. We're neighbors. We have to maintain our health. We have to be physically fit. So all of those things are in the forefront of what it is we do. And that doesn't mean that, so all of those things are in the forefront of what it is we do. And that doesn't mean that you have to say goodbye to living just because you are now this new person that's becoming uncuffed. But it does mean that you have to remember that you are a priority. You are more than a priority. You are the president in your own life. Dr. Phil says the star in your own show. I'm telling you, if you are not the priority, you can't be anything else to anybody else. So the first thing you have to do when it comes to mind dumping is you've got to prepare your tools. Your tools are not just things where you're going to put information in. It's tools where you're going to extract information too. You're going to check out, turn off the social media, turn off the technology. You're going to go into a place of calmness. I don't care what that looks like for you. It could just be in your bathroom when you're running bath time. I love to have candles and music, and I even have my iPad in there, and I'll have like a streaming flow of water or something calming. And that could be something you could do. It could be you in your closet organizing. It could be sitting at the dining room table. I have a yellow room. My husband gave away a wonderfully working television to an older gentleman, which I stopped complaining about. I never understood why the guy didn't want a TV, but something on his heart led him to give the man a television. So we've been without a television in that room for a while on purpose. We're going to buy one to replace it. We're trying to figure out how long we can go without it and how many ways we can replace other positive things with just a television. And we have televisions, the big curve, the huge ones in every other room. So let's just give that room a break. But that's a yellow room, and that's my peaceful room. And it's also like a creative room. So for me, my tools are to identify my mind dumping zones, and then to identify tools that will help me. This is A New Way of Living by Joyce Myers. It's one of her booklets. I have so many of her books in there, like really available. I'm a definite book reader. I like to write books. I love everything about books. They make me feel very comfortable and not more knowledgeable, because it's like someone else saying, this is my thought, and you can either agree with it or not. All right. So in this book, she talks about how you can control your thoughts. She said, where the mind goes, a man will follow. And she also talks about how deeply our thoughts impact our emotions and the words that we speak to ourselves, how we are telling ourselves these things. It also talks about the connection between your thoughts and your feelings. So now I love Joyce Meyer. She has a wonderfully simplistic way of putting messages out. But to her point, we already know, because we've heard a lot, that our mind, what you think you are, what you eat you are, what you do you are. But basically, the mind is the biggest battlefield. And she does have a book called The Battlefield of the Mind. I totally agree with that. The mind is something that you didn't have any control over shaping, because you're going to respond to your extraneous variables. You're going to respond to your, the environment, our environment. And that becomes your inner language. It becomes how you think about yourself. If you have tasked and surrounded by negativity all the time, and you're tasked with that face that negative all the time, you may find yourself becoming a negative person unless you check that behavior in that environment. If you're in a position where you have to be around negative people, I was there, been there, told you guys I was a cop for 20 years. What you have to do is then build practices that will allow you to mind dump in real time. So if you have to be around negative people, you have to tell yourself as you're hearing harsh things that they're saying or doing, and you know that it isn't right. If you can remove yourself, you should. If you can't, then you have to train your mind on seeing and focusing on something positive. For me, I always love the Word of God. I also love songs. Songs are very positive sometimes. I also love listening to speakers who have a lot to say, and I'll take words from books and I'll replay them in my mind because for me, it's more productive just to be positive. Um, so when you are thinking about how well your mind controls everything that you do, people have gained healing through the control of what they're thinking. That is incredible. You've heard the book Think and Grow Rich. You could actually think yourself into being rich just by getting rid of a scarcity mindset. I'm a self made woman, and a lot of that has to do with how well I'm able to control my thoughts. And I'm not saying I'm not easily impacted and um, affected by things that I see and I'm exposed to through my senses, but I'm saying it doesn't define me. So what that means is you have to get to a place if something's bothering you and you can address it, address it. And if you can't address it, you have to let it go and turn it over to God and know that He's still in control. So my mind is incredible because I've always been laser focused on what my life's purpose was and what my next steps were and how did that make sense to the larger picture. Before my kids relied on me, my family relied on me, my siblings, my mom, my dad, those who relied on me. And no matter what it looked like, it didn't have to make sense to anyone else. I knew I had to be successful because of the people attached to me. And then as I became a young adult and I grew into this successful woman, I along the way met many women who needed me to win so they could see what it looked like. So I've always kept that at the forefront of my mind. So the next excerpt that I want to talk about is coming from the book Overwhelmed, Work, Love, and Play When No One Has the Time by Bridget Shuttle. I remember going on Katie's show. I've been on many television shows, and I went on a Katie show as a guest on this day. I've been on television as an expert, as a guest to do fun segments. It's just media's just been a great part of me. I've had my own audio channels. I have my own, so I'm all over social media. So I've always loved to, communicate the lessons that I've learned. But I remember being on this show. It's called The Katie Show, and I met the author of this book, and she was discussing how she had reached a point in her life where she was just overwhelmed, and nothing made sense. She knew she wanted this American dream, which she thought she had. She had the job, the family, but she wasn't present for any of those moments. So I myself have been there. While I was a cop, I was also a person who would go into the jails and educate younger people. While I was a cop, I started a nonprofit with my husband, and we educated families about healthy and unhealthy relationships. Not saying that we were the master, but we were willing to give back the lessons that we had learned. Because to me, when you mind up, it makes you more available to actually carry out your goals and your dreams, to put your dreams and those steps into action. And that's what it's really about. How are you going to change the world? But in this book, this author talks about finding time. And I thought in this chapter, if you were to get the book, chapter 13, it discusses how you literally have to go to war when it comes to your time. You have to say no when you are supposed to say no. And it doesn't mean saying no to things that you really want to do. It means that you don't always have to show up as the expert. You don't always have to show up as the help. You don't always have to show up and be that girl that everyone dumps things on. Sometimes we do those things in exchange for acceptance and love or opportunities. And I'm telling you, you don't have to live like that. If you focus on the self work, like we're doing here on this challenge, and you carry out the action steps that you're supposed to do, which you won't be very clear on, when you mind up, then you will be readily available for the opportunities that are meant for you. And you don't have to work as hard to say no or to mind up. So in this book, she talks about sometimes the sheer agony of leaving the warm baby or weeping toddler or walking out of the room. It really sparks a feeling that we are doing something wrong. When in actuality, in order for us to be better and come back, as moms and refueled wives and women in business, because I don't want you guys, if you already have a business, to grow resentful of your customers. So in order to avoid that, you owe them to mind dump. And this is how we mind dump: by organizing. We mind dump by developing our story. First, we know we have to be in touch with our God ordained purpose. We have to. There is no exceptions. You have to be clear on the fact that God saw something special in you, that He made you. But not only did He make you, He also made you with intentions and for a purpose. And your purpose is to grow His kingdom, and your purpose is to grow His kingdom by being who you were gifted to be. The second thing you need, we talked about our tools, which I love the books, having those handy. I talked about some of the books that I have. The next thing is you have to have basic tools. Put down the phone and the tablets, pick up paper and pen. There's something magical about an old fashioned paper and pen. It's just magical when your thoughts make connections to paper, and while you're there making a connection to paper, you're writing things down. When you are mind dumping, you are not spending a whole lot of time on organizing. That's not the time to organize. You're just getting it all out. So you may find yourself writing things that don't make sense. Just write them out. It'll make sense later. You could just start with, what are you going to do for the next 5 minutes? What's going to happen in the next hour, the next 2 hours, the next 2 days? And then you have it. Now, those things, they get to stay on this piece of paper that you can come back to at a designated time. When you get out of bed in the morning, you show gratitude, you check your calendar, right? When you go to bed, you show gratitude, you say your prayers, and then you're off to bed. A great time to mind dump is right before you take your bath, right before you close it down for the evening. Leave that pencil and paper in your by your nightstand, but don't leave it on top. You're going to unload everything. You're going to open the drawer, close it. If there's things pressing, put it on your calendar. Now put those things away. And then what you're going to do is you're going to show gratitude, say your prayers, and then you're off to bed for a wonderful night of peace. If you are having difficulty sleeping after you've mind dumped, I encourage you to use your wind blowing. You can hear birds chirping. Whatever it is that soothes and calms your mind is what you need to do now. I also like displays of light. So, back in the day when we were babies, we had night lights and we had night shows. Like nowadays, you can get the glow in the dark and put them all around your ceilings. Go back to that. Don't be ashamed about doing that. Go back to that and just embrace the simplicity of being a child and the simplicity of not having to solve the world's problems in one day. Yes, we're good at things and that's great, but you are not supposed to play Jesus. Guys, we had one. He came, he did a wonderful job, and God is fully in control. So he doesn't need your help in that aspect. However, he wants you to live your best life, and part of that is mind dumping. Now, I'm going to close up the mind dumping and move right into my products, and I'll tell you how to connect with me if you can't wait until tomorrow. But we'll take another amazing part of uncuffing in your life. Ultimately, by the end of the 24-day challenge, you would have uncuffed in your life and your business and beginning to develop your legacy. If you don't have a business, I can help you with that as well. This is what I do. I am the Uncuffed Living Expert, the founder of Women Uncuffed. We have a virtual colloquium happening at this moment. I am still accepting wonderful speakers. If you have a clear message and brand and you want a platform, reach out to me. I'm on all the social medias. My email is right there at caprismith.com. In addition, I'm telling you, when we connect, I'm a strong believer of we all win together. So if there's an opportunity that's presented to me, it's trickle down to my tribe. So become a woman uncuffed. All right. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is, by being a senior director in Mary Kay, I have the privilege of being exposed to a lot of our amazing gifts. All right. So these two things right here, this is the satin lips treatment. Satin lip set. It's like a mask for your lips. It is amazing. Together, it's only 22 bucks, right? You could buy them separately. I don't suggest it. But basically, you have a sugar scrub, and I'm obviously wearing makeup lipstick, so I don't want to mess that up. But I'm going to show you on my finger how and I use it all the time. My sons use it, my husband uses it, our family uses it. But if it has sugar in it, white tea and citrus in it, so you have that clingy burst of energy when you're doing it, and it's like you're literally scrubbing off the dead cells on your lips. You can do this once a day. You can do it twice a day. It's totally up to you. In this epic area time where we're like so encouraged not to touch our faces. I don't encourage you to do it as often, but if you want to do it 3 times a day, that would be great too, because we don't think enough about how germs touch our mouths and get into our systems. Okay, so but the sugar scrub is built to last 300 uses. If you use it every day, 3 times a day, you can still get like three. Okay, and then you put the balm on. The balm, you see the tip is angled, and you just rub it right on, and it leaves your lips so kissable and huggable. I mean, huggable lips, but kissable, and just makes you feel good. You don't have chapped lips. You know that they're not dry when you're speaking to people. And ladies, if you want to wear your lipstick like I'm wearing, you can put it right over your lipstick. And there's a noticeable difference. You want soft lips, I suggest the satin hands, and you can go right to capricesmith.com and learn more about that. So tomorrow, we are going to dig deeper into our life topics because it's important for us to uncuff our lives. So up to this point, we've talked about the 5 core keys of women uncuffed. And they are to stretch yourself daily. Remember, there's no particular order. To honor who you are, to give back to your community, to allow God to use you, meaning you're doing things the right way, and then do something different every day that makes you and your environment better. We've already talked about mind dumping today. Yesterday, we talked about honoring who you are, and we're going to keep right on moving until we're all through. You can get your 24 Uncuffed challenge on Amazon. I put a special rate on it. You definitely don't need it for this, but if you visit every day, you leave comments on YouTube and you share, you are going to go in a drawing every day. You leave comments on YouTube and you share, you are going to go in a drawing because you could get your book for free. All right, until next time, I love you guys, and we will chat soon.